The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. One of the things about a fandom that I think people regularly forget or misunderstand is that a fandom is designed to basically get your emotional interest, your emotional attachment into something. That's the purpose of the fandom. That's why companies do what they do. That's why characters are marketed and pushed the way they are, or a hobby, or whatever it happens to be. The goal is to get an emotional attachment. If you get an emotional attachment, then you tend to have longevity, meaning people are going to stick with the brand, the property, the whatever it is, for a long length of time. That's a good thing. And in comics, I think one of the things that always strikes me as bizarre, or at least this is my litmus test. All right, so I think anyone who was a retailer and wasn't so much into sniffing their own farts like Brian Hibbs is somebody who pays attention to customer behavior, sees people come in and out, and really respects their clientele. And when I say respect, I don't mean like bend over and take everything from them. I just mean they listen to what they want, they see the trends over time. Like in the video Joe and I did talking about the Punisher or Spider-Man. One of the things that you noticed during the Tom King wedding Batman and Catwoman that didn't happen, there was a frustration from the fans. Is different. It was different from, oh, I was expecting this and I got something else. Man, I'm angry about that. It was an exhaustion. It was you tricked us intentionally, and I'm just kind of done. I'm done. A lot of, if you think about couples that have really kind of passionate fights, they stay married. Like, well, how? And the couple that basically has no interest in each other, that's the one that heads to divorce. Not always, of course. There's lots of different types of things, but that's that you tend to notice these trends over time, and so it always is amazing to me, or surprising to me, or disappointing, one of those words, when people don't get the fandom inside of comics, when they'll say things like, I don't know why these people are so worked up. It's like, well, because it's the very nature of what you're selling. Your whole business model kind of relies on getting people worked up. And I mean, some of it just comes from a state of kind of intentional ignorance, or people really know what's going on, but they don't want it. It's like, I want people to be really, really excited and worked up over all the things that I'm steering them to. I'm the captain of the ship. And if I want them to be excited about the things I'm excited about. But it cuts both ways. It also means that sometimes you lose control of it and people aren't excited. But the fandom's protective of itself. And one of the things that is mostly true across people who are truly buying comics, loving comics, not little niche, but the masses. The masses are important if you want to make money. Is the masses don't like to be called, ugly trolls, nerds, basement dwellers, misogynists, racists, all that kind of stuff. People don't like being called that. They don't, not just for them, even if the person who's saying it is super clear and going, I don't mean you, I mean those other people, they still don't like it. It's like somebody who's a fan of a sports team, and you're like, well, you're a good member of the fandom of this sports team, but the rest of the fans are a bunch of, ugly racists. Like, even if they've clearly separated you from that pack, you're annoyed because it feels like somebody's taking a shot at your thing, at your fandom, at yours. And people make this mistake on a regular basis. There's a guy, and not to get into it fully, but there's a guy who was who comes in semi-regularly to the comments. And the main thrust, I mean, if you could summarize kind of the comments, the majority of them are along the lines of, the older comics are, objectively awful, and the newer comics are better. And the olden times were white male times, and the newer times are more diverse. Kind of basically, that's the summary. That the person's posted, I don't know, male or female, but posted multiple comments across the years, and they all kind of drill into that same summary. equals old bad, new good. And the thing is, I find, even myself annoyed by these comments, and annoyed for a variety of reasons. I mean, one, if anybody's going to try and portray comics as being the kind of right wing white male zone, that's absurd, and it's been absurd for a long time. Comics, and by the way, this is where all the argument starts to flow together. Comics have leaned left from a creation perspective for a very long time, not just since 2015, but for decades and decades. When I say lean left, I don't really mean it like you might be thinking, like politics, like Biden, Trump. I don't mean it that way. I mean lean left, meaning they tend to be more liberal in ideals. There tends to be more of a tolerance for, well, quite frankly, people other than white males writing, crafting stories, working in comics. It's been that way for a long time. And, I've been running a shop since the 90s. I've seen both the creators. I've gone to the events. I've been doing that forever. Okay, so you can't sit here and tell me, oh no, it was always a white male location during the 80s and 90s. It was not. Okay, in fact, quite frankly, per capita, and part of it's tarnished a little bit because the books were selling more. But if you think about Louis Simonson and Ann Nesenti and the many people who got involved with Vertigo, the amount of Jewish people that were in comics, the amount of it just like comics tended to skew more diverse than other mediums, than music, actually, than books in general, than movies, certainly TV. There was more to it, and there was more of an embrace of kind of non. It's hard to describe this because politics has gotten so screwed up over left wing, right wing. It's hard to have these conversations anymore, and people do. I've seen people saying, "Well, comics have always been liberal, or comics have always been socialist." I love that one. And that's not true. It's certainly not true by the person who's saying it. The person who's saying that is trying to dunk on the right-wing chuds. That's what they're doing. They're not trying to portray kind of a pretty obvious fact. If you think about how TV used to operate and how sitcoms and shows were in the 70s and the 80s, comics were a lot more liberal in general kind of social norms. You had a transgender character in comics and creator who was openly transgender long before you had the same things in any kind of mainstream in Hollywood. Now, everybody's retconning the past. I mean, Kurt Cobain was trans. He is not. He was definitively not. That just shows ignorance of somebody saying that. But comics have been more open to all kinds of ideals. And so when people come in, like I said, when I see this, I get annoyed. I get annoyed again because it's factually wrong. Just that first, there's that just factually incorrect. But second, it doesn't help kind of the true customers, the fandom, to represent the past. And in many cases, you're representing a past that happened long before people were born, or certainly into comics. But to represent it as this kind of evil, bigoted, very narrow-minded kind of environment. People don't like that. It offends them. And it offends them because they have an emotional attachment to this fandom. I don't think that's that hard to figure out. But I'll be damned if you see people taking these shots. It's this desire to want to portray the past as evil and as wrong. And I mean, not part of it, probably a lot of it is very self-serving. It's like the past is all wrong. Thank goodness I came around to make everything better, to make everything open. to portray things. Did you know that in 1960 there wasn't a single Pride Month variant cover comic? Can you believe that? Well, yeah. Is that the standard we're doing right now? The laughable part, a couple of people have been doing like pay rate analysis. If you were a creator, male, female, white, black, gay, Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, if you were a creator in the 80s, you were paid more per inflation than you are now. Page rates have not improved in now 30, 40 years. For the people making the comics, it was better, financially better for them than it is today. So, there is that. If you were somebody working in comics, whatever your race and gender, it was a better place for you to work financially. Hands down, so some people have made more money now. Some, you get a really kind of big hit and you do better. But, on average, yeah, things have gone backwards. Things have gotten worse. So that doesn't seem good for people. I don't know. It bugs people because nobody likes, even if they have no attachment to that past, nobody likes to hear that the thing that they love, the thing that they're interested in, has this dark, awful past. And it's the same reason why people get pissed off when you try and portray America as this, it was always founded on racist ideals. It's always founded on, horrible, awful people who did terrible things. There were terrible things that happened in the past. Dragging that around pisses off not just, quote unquote, the bad people, it pisses off everybody. And it's amazing people don't get that. You're never going to win to try and come in, point at a fandom, say your entire history is rotten, but it's good now. I'm here now, so it's great. That's whether you intended it as or not, and I'm sure some of these people do not intend it that way. That's how it comes across. That's the message that you wind up sending. So every now and then, by the way, some people will mail me saying, "Why are these people so white?" It's this one. It's if somebody's not racist, why do they get angry when they're called a racist? If they know they're not a racist, they would just not care. Yeah, that doesn't work that way. And we all know it doesn't work that way. Yeah, actually, I'm changing my opinion. That's not somebody who is making an accidental mistake. That's somebody who's disingenuous as fuck. Anyway, just consider for a moment, if you're one of these people, I hope I give you pause. When you're portraying a fandom, a history of the fandom, as rotten and awful, no matter what it is, comics, music, sports, anything, you're offending somebody. You can say, that was not my intention, so I'm going to keep on doing it. Okay. But keep on enjoying, being treated like a pariah, because people are going to hate you. Thanks for listening.